Now third category. This is depending upon the force of contraction. Are we having time? Enough time?
Yes.
So therefore, depending upon the force of contraction, now depending upon the force of contraction, if I simply put an arrow here, I will just rub this so to create more space. So depending upon the force, according to physics, any muscle when it is acting upon the bone, any muscle when it is acting upon the bone, it will tend to produce a force, and this force according to vector analysis is resolved into two component forces. The entire force which is produced by the muscle acting on the bone is resolved into two components according to vector analysis, and those two components will be at right angles to each other. Therefore, the first component, one of the components which produces the force will produce angular movement, and that is known as swing component. That is known as swing component, which produces angular movement. Another force which will tend to bring the bone or transmit the bone, the force on the bone along the shaft towards the joint, it is known as shunt component. So it will be known as shunt component. So therefore, here I will just mention shunt component, S-H-U-N-T. Once again I will make you understand, whenever a muscle is acting on the bone, according to vector analysis, it will produce a force which is resolved in two components, and both the components are acting at right angles to each other. First component is swing component, and that swing component will tend to produce angular movement of the joint, of the bone. Second component is shunt component, which will tend to produce the force which is directed across the shaft of the bone towards the joint. So that is called shunt component. Now therefore, if we draw a basic simple line diagram where we show these two components, then this is the line diagram where I show, I'll just take yellow color and I will show this bone. If supposing we consider this as one of the bones of the forearm, and here this is the joint, we consider this is the joint, and we consider this as, let us consider this as humerus. So if this is humerus, this is the bone of forearm, elbow joint. Now if I draw the muscle, if I draw this muscle, later on I will give you an example. This is the muscle from the origin to the insertion. Then the force which is acting here at the point of insertion, this force will be acting in this direction, and another force will be acting in this direction. The force which is acting in this direction is known as swing component, and the force which is acting through the shaft towards the joint, this is known as shunt component. Based upon this line diagram, it is very simple to understand. This is the swing component, and this is the force which is generated in the shunt component, in the form of shunt component. So swing component, shunt component. Shunt component is always transmitted towards the joint, and swing component means it will produce angular movement. Therefore, the muscles which will have more of swing component, more of angular movement, will be known as SPURT, spurt muscles. Very important, one mark. Spurt muscles. What are spurt muscles? The spurt muscles are those muscles which will have more of swing component rather than shunt component, where they will be able to produce more of the angular movements. Spurt muscle. And those muscles which will have more of shunt component, they are known as SHUNT, shunt muscles. So therefore, these are the two basic categories of muscles under this classification. Depending upon the force of contraction, the entire muscles are divided into two classifications. Number one, spurt muscles. Number two, shunt muscles. Now given examples, we know what are spurt muscles, we know what are shunt muscles. Spurt muscles are those muscles which will have more of swing component, and shunt muscles are those muscles which will have more of shunt component. Example of spurt muscle will be brachialis muscle acting on elbow joint. Brachialis muscle acting on elbow joint, which is an example of spurt muscle, in which the origin, which is known as the fixed component, will be away from the joint, and the insertion will be near the joint. So brachialis muscle, this is brachialis muscle, is an example of spurt muscle acting on the elbow joint. Second example, shunt muscle. Shunt muscle is example where its origin, fixed attachment, will be near the joint, and that will be brachioradialis muscle. So brachioradialis muscle acting on the elbow joint is an example of the shunt variety. Please note down. Brachialis muscle acting on elbow joint is an example of spurt muscle, and brachioradialis muscle acting on the elbow joint is an example of shunt muscle. Therefore, here we finish our third category of classification depending upon the force of contraction. Coming up in the next segment will be the actions of muscles. So therefore, now the last category is actions of the voluntary muscles. How the muscles, voluntary muscles of the human body are categorized according to their actions. And basically there are four different actions of the entire voluntary segments of the muscles of the human body. So the skeletal muscles of the human body will undergo four basic actions. So sometimes, that is why in the beginning I told you, sometimes you can place this as category number 4 also for classification of voluntary musculature. But basically these are the actions, four different actions. We start with first action, and this is really very interesting to understand. The first action is prime movers. Now, according to the actions, where we categorize the skeletal muscles in four different groups, the first group is prime movers. So prime movers, definition, very simple. They are those muscle groups which will produce the desired movement. So the muscle groups which produce the desired movements, they are called prime movers. Flexor muscle groups, they produce flexion. They are called prime movers. Extensor muscle group, they produce extension of any joint. They are called prime movers of extension. Flexors, they are called prime movers of flexion action. Simple. Wherever the muscle groups that produce desired action, they are called prime movers. Now, sometimes in 1 mark question answer it is asked, within this prime movers there is one special subcategory which is called paradoxical action. So I will just note down paradoxical action. Now what is this paradoxical action? Sometimes when a muscle is producing prime movement, then the same muscle will help opposite movement of the body. If flexure is produced by any of the flexure muscle, flexion is produced by any of the flexure muscle, if it helps the opposite movement, extensor movement, by lengthening against gravity, then that particular action is known as paradoxical action. For example, once again I'll repeat the definition, then example. Paradoxical action is the action of the prime mover which will help the opposite movement by lengthening against gravity. That is called paradoxical action. Example, deltoid muscle. If you take this deltoid muscle, the action of deltoid muscle is abduction of the shoulder joint. You know that. So it is the prime movement, prime mover. The same deltoid will help in adduction. The same deltoid will help in adduction. Whenever any weight is gradually lowered down to the ground, then the deltoid will help in adduction by lengthening against gravity. So therefore this action of deltoid, which helps in lowering the weight down to the ground by lengthening against gravity, this adduction movement is known as paradoxical action for deltoid. Since deltoid is the prime mover of shoulder joint in cases of abduction, but it will also help in adduction by lengthening against gravity, which is known as paradoxical action. So here we finish our first group, prime movers. Now, according to the action, the second group. Second group is known as antagonist. Antagonist muscles. Very simple. What are antagonist muscles? Definition. They are those group of muscles which will act against the prime movers, or they are those group of muscles which will act against the desired movement. So antagonist muscles will always function against the desired movement. Second important point of antagonist muscles. These are the group of muscles which will help the prime movers in their action by relaxing their fibers. So antagonist group of muscles will relax their muscle fibers and gradually they will help the prime movers in producing their desired movement. So whenever prime movers are acting in their desired movement, the antagonist muscles will relax to bring about, to help the prime movers in bringing their desired movements. Otherwise, antagonist muscles are opposite the prime movers. Third category. Now, the third category, depending upon the actions of muscles, prime movers, antagonists, and the third will be very interesting, fixation muscles. Please note down, fixation muscles. Now these fixation muscles are those muscles which will stabilize the proximal joints whenever any action is produced by the prime mover over distal joint. So whenever any distal joint action is produced by prime mover, the proximal joints, they are stabilized by fixation muscles. Please note down. And now comes the most interesting category, fourth category, depending upon the actions. They are known as synergists. They are called synergists. What are synergists? They are spatial fixator muscles or spatial fixation muscles. They are called synergists. For example, whenever any muscle is crossing more than one joint, 2 joints, 3 joints, it is crossing 2 joints or 3 joints. Then, if that muscle is producing action on the distal joint, then the intermediate joints are stabilized, or the proximal joints, that is intermediate and proximal joints are stabilized by spatial fixation muscles which are called synergists. Give an example, when we flex the fingers. The flexors, the long flexor tendons of the forearm producing the flexion of the fingers, they are called prime movers, and whenever we are flexing the fingers, the wrist joint is stabilized. It is kept in this stabilized position by the extensors. So these extensor muscles, they will act as spatial fixation muscles of the wrist in order to flex the fingers of the hand. So therefore, when the fingers of the hand are flexed, the extensors of the forearm will stabilize the proximal and intermediate joints of the wrist, that is the wrist joint. And therefore, these muscles, extensor muscles, during the flexion of fingers, these extensor muscles will function as synergists. So here, we finished the 4 basic categories depending upon the actions of the muscles. And what are they? They are prime movers, antagonists, then fixation muscles, and spatial fixation muscles which are called synergists. So here we finish the entire classification of the voluntary muscles of the human body. Thank you very much.